16 nonprofit colleges closed their doors last year, shut down. One consulting firm projects that up to 370 more private colleges could lose or merge within the next decade. If you run a business, this isn't necessarily just a higher education story. It's a preview of what's to come. What I mean by that is what's actually happening is that private colleges are now discounting their sticker price by a record of 57% just to fill seats in the classroom. And net tuition revenue keeps falling. A demographic cliff means that the number of graduating high school students starts dropping sharply with the class of 2026. That's this year. Add new federal caps on student loans that took effect July 1st, and you've got an industry, the higher education industry, running out of runway all at the same time. So the easy read on this is that weak schools are failing. The real pattern is bigger than that. Higher education is splitting into two camps, and the space in between is collapsing. So what does that mean? On one end sit the elite brands, Harvard, Princeton, Stanford. They hold pricing power. They have deep endowments, and they draw far more applicants than they can admit. That's their business model. On the other end sit the low-cost providers, community colleges, and large online universities that are all competing on price and job relevance, and that demand's holding up pretty well. The schools in real trouble sit in the middle. They charge close to elite prices without an elite brand, and they carry every cost the low-cost providers never took on. So they've got dorms, cafeterias, facilities, extracurricular programs. For decades, that middle position felt safe. Easy student loans covered the gap between what the school charged and what the market would actually pay. Now the gap's exposed, and three forces are hitting all at one time. Fewer traditional student loans because fewer traditional students because of this demographic cliff. There's just not as many students. Tighter borrowing because of the new loan caps, and fading belief in the product itself, with only 35% of Americans now calling a college degree very important, and that's a 15-year low. The strategy professor Michael Porter had a name for this position back in the 1980s. He called it stuck in the middle, and said it's really the weakest place a business can sit. You don't want to be stuck in the middle. You either win on premium value or you win on cost. Owning neither one is the danger zone. And a record tuition discount is exactly what it looks like when your market stops paying your posted price and you're getting stuck in the middle, especially when you're offering higher premium services. Some schools saw this coming and moved before things really went south. Southern New Hampshire University, for example, was a small regional college with a few thousand students 2 decades ago. It went all in on low-cost online education for working adults, and today it enrolls about 84,000 online students, up from about 500 in 2010. The university didn't try to be everything to everyone. It picked one end of that barbell and built enormous scale at that lower end. And that's the move available to any leader listening to this, whether you're in a university or elsewhere in a regular for-profit business. Here's what I encourage you to do. First, pick which end you're competing on. Decide right now whether your business wins on premium value or on cost and access. Sitting between isn't a strategy. It's a countdown to your demise. Second, manage your discounts. If you're closing more deals by cutting price further and further, that's not flexibility. It's ultimately an Achilles heel that you're building in real time. The same way tuition discounting has become a challenge for colleges. Third, fund tomorrow's model. Take the resources you're spending propping up the middle right now and route them towards whichever end your customers are actually moving to. Stop feeding the position that costs overhead to run it while you're doing the discounts. Then ask yourself the harder question. Find the barbell in your own industry. Name the premium end and the value end, and then decide really, honestly, look at where you are on the spectrum. If the answer is somewhere in between, in the middle, that's not the place to be. Pick a direction and start moving before a downturn decides your fate for you. Every shrinking market eventually forces the same choice. Pick an end or become the middle that disappears. That's the reframe, so you can leapfrog the headlines, your leadership, and your business. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and find me at sorenkaplan.com. And I make this podcast free and without ads. If you liked it, please follow it and give it a rating or a like.